welcome. ZASLOW Show 2.0. It is a Friday, the 16th of December. Good to have you aboard, however you're listening to us. Love you long time, whatever podcast platform. Make sure you tell your friends, you tell your family, you tell your mother I say hello. You rate, you comment, you like, you do all that good stuff. That helps me out. I appreciate it. That's what the algorithm says. The algorithm likes when you do that, and then I get all the monies, and then we can do lots and lots more of ZASLOW Show 2.0. So again, appreciate everybody as we wrap up week number 7. 7 weeks already. So again, I'm super appreciative of everyone's support. We wrap up week number 7 here of this new venture, ZASLOW Show 2.0. And of course, it's all made possible by our title sponsor, Anidjar and Levine Accident Attorneys. If you're dealing with any kind of injury from an accident, I send you to Anidjar and Levine because they're going to take care of this stuff. They're going to make sure that you get the money that you deserve to help you through this. You worry about getting healthy, getting right. Let them take care of all the other extracurricular stuff and get you the money that you deserve. 800-747-FREE. You'll talk to an attorney right away who will advise you exactly what to do. 800-747-3733. Those are my guys over there. Title sponsor of everything. ZASLOW Show 2.0, Anidjar and Levine Accident Attorneys. So we got a lot to get to here today on a Friday. It is the weekend, and we got a big sports weekend. I mean, of course, highlighted by this Sunday, you got the World Cup. The Dolphins obviously are Saturday night, so I guess we could say if we want that the World Cup, you got Argentina, Messi trying to win their not their first World Cup, but Messi trying to go out on top, walk off into the sunset. Got a little bit of an Elway feel to it, you know, where the last opportunity, if you will, can Messi finally raise that World Cup trophy. So this is a huge one Sunday. It's not going to be easy. Argentina and France, we're a Messi household. We love Leo Messi here in the ZASLOW Mansion. Obviously, United States first, but my wife's family is Argentinian, and we root for Argentina when the U.S. is out, and we always root for Messi. So we are very into this game on Sunday morning. I'm not going to give any spoilers, but that could be in big game or not a big game. I don't know. No spoilers. I don't want to give it away. It's Friday. You know that means we got big game or not a big game coming up. What else we got today? All right. Fun show planned to wrap up the week. First of all, you guys can see I got my Johnny Cuba hat on. It's Friday. I love wearing my Johnny Cuba hat on Fridays. All right. Stay tranquilo, everybody. But here's what we got coming up on the show today. You're looking for your fantasy football tips. It's either the final week of your regular season or most likely your postseason has started this week. See, I'm in a weird spot with my fantasy football team where my team finished in the top 2. 6 out of 12 teams make the playoffs. Top 2 winds up getting a bye. And I finished second. So, like Christian McCaffrey last night, he had a touchdown, but I wasn't even paying very close attention to all that stuff. First of all, like I said, in the ZASLOW Mansion family room last night, Heat on the big TV, Panthers on the small TV. We did a little flipping back and forth as well. And it was like, all right, so we're going to put the football on the laptop. But I wasn't paying very close attention to the football. So, anyway, back to the original point. Like, McCaffrey scored last night. I got McCaffrey on my team, but, like, I didn't really care because my team's on a bye. So, it's a weird thing. I wanted to rest all my guys. NBA, I wanted load management. I wanted to go NBA style. I wanted to do load management with my fantasy football team last night, this week. But you may not know, but if I were to take guys out of my lineup and put them on my bench, they still play in the regular game. They still, like McCaffrey still played last night, even if I would have benched him. So I don't get to decide. Like I'm the general manager of my fantasy football team, but I don't really get to decide if they play or not. So weird week if you're in the fantasy football and your team has a bye like mine. But nobody cares about your fantasy football team. Nobody cares about my fantasy football team. Anyway, so last night, Heat and Panthers, we couldn't get the double dip. Double dip, for those who don't know, that's when both the Heat and the Panthers win on the same night. That's the double dip. Now, when they both lose, that's called the double dick punch. Everybody knows that. When they split the 2 games, like last night, that's called splitting the 2 games. And that's what happened last night. So the Heat and the Panthers, they both split the games last night. That's disappointing, but we'll start out here with the Heat, okay? So the Heat, they are finally back to 500. The Heat get to 15-15, and they can go over 500 tomorrow. We're 3/4 of the way there. Like I told you, we're 3/4 of the way to a 4-0 road trip. Now, I don't care who the teams are. I don't care that they're shit teams. Although Houston, their record obviously sucks, but they had won 5 in a row at home before last night. And you could see between Jabari Smith Jr., Jalen Green, Kevin Porter Jr., they have talent on that team. They're going to be a nice little team eventually, all right? So, and, if you were watching the game last night, that was no cakewalk. So, and by the way, even if they're bad teams, which they have been, excuse me, they're road wins. And the Heat now have won 3 in a row on the road for the first time this year. They've won all 3 of these road games. They're 6-9 on the road now, which is not good, but at least it's not embarrassing anymore. They were 3-9. They're now, I think at one point they were 2-9. They may have won 4 in a row on the road right now, actually. But they're 6-9 on the road. Not good, but not an embarrassment anymore. Like, the Warriors are 2-14 on the road. Woo! And by the way, you got the news yesterday that Steph Curry is going to miss a few weeks. Like, I don't think they're going to win any games with Steph Curry out. They are not good when Steph Curry is not on the floor. And that's putting it lightly. When Steph Curry is on the floor, if you look at the metrics, and I don't have it in front of me, but if you look at the metrics, when Steph Curry is on the floor for the Warriors, they're like the best team in the league, which goes to show you if they're under 500, which they are, they're a couple under 500, how bad they are when he's not on the floor. Like, I don't know that they're going to win any games these next few weeks with Steph Curry out. Certainly ain't going to be triple single, Draymond Green saving them, and Klay Thompson, he doesn't look like Klay Thompson. But anyway, back to the Heat. 6-9, not a good road record, but not an embarrassment. And that's where the Heat are right now. By the way, I forgot to finish what I was saying before. Coming up on the show today, fantasy football, Jamie Eisenberg, CBS Sports fantasy football expert. He joins us every Friday. He's coming up in a little bit here. So we'll get the fantasy football tips with him. We'll get everybody going as far as that goes. MJ Acosta Ruiz hosts every night, NFL Network, NFL Total Access, every single night. Dolphin game tomorrow night is on NFL Network, all right? So our friend MJ Acosta Ruiz, she's going to join us coming up later on in the show today. Haven't talked to her in a while, so looking forward to getting her on. And of course, she'll be joining us on the Johnny Cuba guest line. So will Jamie, as every guest does. So we'll talk fantasy football with Jamie. We'll talk some Dolphins football. She's a huge Dolphins fan, obviously out there representing, hosting NFL Total Access every single night, 7 p.m. on the NFL Network. So MJ Acosta Ruiz, she will join us coming up as well. Back to the Heat. So last night, you finally get back to 500. They can go over 500 tomorrow. That game is against San Antonio. They're in Mexico City. By the way, funny moments if you were watching in the winner's circle last night when Tyler Herro was talking to Eric and Karate. I'm talking about Eric Reed. Not Eric Reed, the former midday host on 790 The Ticket. I don't know what he's up to, but Eric Reed, television voice of the Heat, and John Crotty. He was in the winner's circle last night after his 41-point effort, and he had to ask the guys, are we going to Mexico or are we going to New Mexico? You're going to Mexico, player. So the game tomorrow is in Mexico City, part of like the global games that the NBA is doing. All right, so Heat and Spurs in Mexico City tomorrow. You can go over 500, maybe exact a little bit of revenge. An embarrassing loss at home to the Spurs last week. But last night was fun. I mean, again, bombs away from 3. Last night was, I mean, overall, this road trip is about taking advantage of the teams, getting back to 500, getting over 500, and they got a chance of that tomorrow. It's really going to feel like if they don't win that game tomorrow, it's at 5 p.m. If they don't win that game tomorrow, like this road trip's going to feel like a waste. They have a great opportunity here to take all 4 road games. You get a bunch of momentum. You feel good about yourself. You're correcting some road woes. Hey, they won a couple nights ago minus Jimmy. They won last night minus Bam and Kyle Lowry, all right? Although Kyle Lowry, considering how he finished out the game on Wednesday night, maybe it was a good thing he didn't play. Boy, he stunk the finishing minutes on Wednesday night against Oklahoma City. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. But you're winning some games while you're without some guys. So you feel like you're getting somewhere. You got to win tomorrow or the road trip feels like a waste. Like, Take advantage of the 4-game road trip, which includes teams 3 out of 4 under 500. All right? So you got to win tomorrow, or it's going to feel like a setback. Even though it will be a 3-1 road trip, which is obviously excellent, it'll feel like a setback if they don't win tomorrow. So anyway, last night, though, was not just about getting to 500. Last night was about a 22-year-old kid that the team just signed long-term who is going to be a superstar. That's what last night was. Tyler Herro is going to be a superstar. And I guess the comp, and it's like his hero, is Devin Booker, right? I don't know. I don't see any reason why he's not going to be Devin Booker. Like, Devin Booker's a superstar in this league, right? Devin Booker is probably a top 10 player in this league, right? He's the best player on what has been the best team in the West for the last couple of years. Devin Booker's a superstar. Tyler Herro is like, I'm not going to sit here and anoint Tyler Herro a superstar today, but Tyler Herro is going to be a superstar. And that's what last night was. I told you on yesterday's show, he is worth every single penny that they gave him. And then he follows that up with last night's career performance. And both games, it's one thing to have those big games. The Heat, they wind up winning by 10, or you have those games and they don't win. He had 35 2 nights ago, including the game winner, so you needed every one of those 35. He had 41 last night in a 3-point win. You needed every one of those 41. He's putting up these performances with the game on the line in big pressure situations. Not that we didn't know that he loves that situation, but these are meaningful performances. He's having these games when the team, needs them because they're trying to get to 500 and then get over 500. And B, in this individual game, we're talking about a high leverage situation. We're talking about these are huge baskets every time he has the ball. Last night, it's great that they're at 500. But the big takeaway was you have a 22-year-old kid they just signed long-term who is going to be a superstar. Like, there are moments, you knew it with Wade in his, not comparing him to Wade, but you knew it with Wade his rookie year in the playoffs and how he was performing. Tyler's in his 4th year, but he's just 22 years old. Dwayne got to the league, I think he was 21 when he got to the league. Tyler's just 22 years old. And yes, you saw what he did in the playoffs. You saw what he did in the bubble in the finals. But he's now, I don't want to say he's carrying the team, but he's the number one option for most of the game. And 2 nights ago, no Jimmy Butler. He's taken over in the 4th quarter. Last night, you did have Jimmy. You had no Bam. And still, Tyler. He is the first player in NBA history. He's the first player in NBA history to have 9 made 3-point field goals back-to-back nights. Tyler Herro's your boy. 2 nights ago, 9 of 17 from 3. Last night, 10 of 15 from 3. First player in NBA history, 2 nights in a row with 9 made 3-point field goals. That's your boy right there. And look at the efficiency, too. How about the efficiency from Tyler? Last 2 nights, yes, 35 points, 41 points. 25 for 43 shooting overall. 76 points on 43 field goal attempts. Whoo! 76 points on 43 field goal attempts. That's a monster couple of nights for Tyler Herro. He's going to be a superstar. So, in a season which, I don't want to say it's trending upwards. They're beating bad teams right now, although they are on the road, so you want to give them credit. But, I'm not going to, you don't want to change your tune on what you've seen through 30 games based on the last 3 games. Although, look, Indiana's been a really good surprise this year in the league, so that was a good win. Oklahoma City plays hard. They're not terrible. And Houston, you saw. Houston's going to continue to get better throughout this season. They're a decent team. Record doesn't necessarily show, but they're a decent team. They got good young players. So I don't know, the wins are all right. But still, it's three road wins. And while getting to 500 is super important, the key to the last couple nights is you do have that core moving forward, because the season was feeling like a lost season. And now it's, okay, look at what Bam has done the last few weeks, especially when Jimmy was out. Look at Tyler Herro. Like, the way the Heat were going to get better this year was from internal growth. They didn't add anyone. The way they were going to get better was from internal growth. You're now seeing it from Bam. You're seeing it from Tyler. So things are starting to trend upward for the team, but future-wise as well, I think both those guys, we know the future is about those two guys. Both those guys are looking like really good core pieces moving forward. Bam has been a very, very pleasant surprise the last couple of weeks. And Tyler is going to be a superstar. And he's worth every single penny they gave him in the offseason. Yep. That's what last night was about. Now you want them to put together some wins against good teams, right? I hear you. I feel you. You want them to put together some wins against good teams. And when they get home, after this road trip, you do have some better teams coming home. You got Chicago on Tuesday after tomorrow's game against San Antonio. Chicago on Tuesday, Indiana on Friday, and then Minnesota a week from. So it's a 4-game homestand after tomorrow. Chicago, Indiana, Minnesota, Los Angeles Lakers. Now, 3 of those 4 teams are under 500, but you feel like the competition is pretty decent. So if you sweep the road trip tomorrow, you come home for a 4-game trip, a game over 500, and then that's the real test. Can you take if you're trending upward, if you're a good team, you will take advantage of a 4-game homestand that features 3 out of 4 teams under 500, Chicago, Minnesota, Los Angeles Lakers, and an Indiana team that you just beat in their building. Like, am I sitting here saying the Heat should win 8 in a row? Because that's what we're talking about. If they win tomorrow, and then you got the 4-game homestand. They're not going to win 8 in a row. But it feels like, hey, if you're a good team, and if you're going to turn the corner, and if you're trending upward, you got to do some damage during this stretch. This is it. This is the stretch. You got to do some damage. So that's where we're at right now with your favorite little basketball team. Tomorrow in Mexico City, is that going to be a big game, not a big game? I don't know. We'll see. So Thursday night football last night. Like I said, I didn't see very much of the game because I had it on the laptop and I'm paying more attention to the Heat and Panthers. Although I had the Panthers on the big TV for a long time, especially when the game was tight. Panthers were up 1-0, then it's 1-1 for a while. They make it 3-2. They wind up losing empty net goal. Team stinks. They stink. And I'll circle back to the Panthers. But if somebody sees Sasha Barkov, let me know. Let me know, everybody. Let him know. Everyone's looking for him. You're playing a good team in Pittsburgh who has now won 7 in a row, I believe it is. That would have been a nice night for Sasha Barkov to show up. It's so frustrating. Team stinks. Come off the most exciting season in the history of franchise, and they just stink now. It's so disappointing. I can't sit here every day and tell you how disappointing it is. I'm a broken record. I'll circle back to them, unfortunately. But Thursday night football last night, I had the game on the laptop, so I wasn't, paying so close attention, especially because my fantasy football team is off. But the 49ers, they win 21-13. They win the NFC West. They've won, 6 in a row, I think it is. They're 10-4 now. And if Minnesota loses this weekend against Indianapolis, San Francisco would jump then to second because they haven't played this year, I don't think, but San Francisco has a better conference record. So San Francisco would jump to number 2, although I have to expect Minnesota to bounce back and beat Indianapolis. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Well, I'll get to some NFL standings in a moment here. But one of the big takeaways from last night was another bullshit roughing the passer call, right? That was another big takeaway. It was Bosa And it was like the Jalen Phillips play where, again, like he landed on him. I told you how ProFootballTalk.com tweeted out yesterday how the Rules Committee is going to reevaluate the roughing penalties where they can go back and they could review them. They should do that, although you got to be careful because you don't want it to continue to slow down the game. Here's where I come from. The roughing the passer, and I know it's all about keeping the quarterback healthy. It's all about keeping the quarterback safe. I understand. But because the quarterbacks make the game, and man, you get some really bad football if the quarterbacks are not out there. And it does get to a point where you have to acknowledge it is not a safe game, and it is what it is. And quarterbacks are going to take hits. And when it's not a crazy, violent play when he falls on him, you got to keep that flag in your pocket. You got to let these linebackers and these linemen hit the quarterback. It's a dangerous position. There are essentially three things that bother me the most about the way the game is played today. One of them is the roughing the passer, where I don't know what these defensive players are supposed to do. And we saw it with Jalen Phillips and we saw it with Bosa last night. That cannot be roughing the passer. That's bullshit. But all three of these things that really bother me have drastically changed the way the game is played and officiated. And it's because they want to keep the game as safe as possible. But there needs to be a realization, or maybe there doesn't, but there needs to be a realization that this is a violent game and you're ruining the game. You got the roughing the passer that makes me crazy. I miss kickoffs. I miss kick returns. And they've taken away the kick return because they don't want guys, like in Braveheart, they don't want this side and this side running into each other and clashing in the middle, and then you get concussions. So they've taken away the kick return, where because they kick off 5 yards closer than they always did, the kicks are always into the end zone. They're never returned. I miss kickoffs, man. Kickoffs were always one of the most exciting plays in the game. Kickoff returns are always one of the most exciting plays in the game. I miss kickoffs. Onside kick. That's the third one. I miss onside kicks. And I know they have onside kicks. You saw the Dolphins almost recovered last Sunday night against the Chargers. Onside kicks have always been incredibly difficult to recover in the first place. And when they changed the rule that you could only have half of your coverage team on one side and half on the other side, it became impossible to recover onside kicks. You used to be able to put as many guys as you want. Let's go. And they changed that again. Same thing. This group of guys running at each other, boom. Concussions. So now onside kicks are impossible to recover when you can only have half your coverage team on one side and the other half on the other. You got to allow a team to recover an onside kick. There's only so much you can do to protect the players to keep the game from being super violent when realizing, yeah, you know what? The game is super violent. We don't want to change the game, though. We can't make it flag football. You still got to keep some of the integrity of the game. Those are the three things that bother me the most when it comes to the rules in the NFL. Number one, the roughing. Number two, no kickoff returns. And number three, onside kicks are totally impossible now. Those are the three things that bother me the most about NFL rules, about the rules changes the last few years because of player safety. I'm not saying don't keep the players safe. I'm saying there's only so much you can do. There's only so much you can do. You know what you can do if you're not feeling well? You call Doctors on Call 365, South Florida's urgent care that comes to you. If you're not feeling well, if your kid is not feeling well, your spouse is not feeling well, you call up the doctor. They tell you, okay, we could see you next week. Next week? I'm sick right now. Well, what if I can get a doctor to come to your home and they can take care of you right there in the comfort of your own bedroom? That's right. Doctors on Call 365, South Florida's urgent care that comes to you. They're based in Broward County, but they serve Miami-Dade and Southern Palm Beach as well. You need IV fluids. You need blood drawn. You need x-rays ordered. You need a prescription filled. You don't have to leave your house. Dr. Alon and his team at Doctors on Call 365, they're going to come to your home. Now, they're self-pay, but with Medicare acceptance on the way soon and private insurance acceptance down the line, look, most insurances, they're charging emergency room copays and fees for urgent care visits. So in the end, you're going to likely pay less for treatment in your home than if you went to the emergency room. Doctors on Call 365.com. Call them 24 hours, 7 days a week, and they're going to get you home and take care of you. 786-577-9302. Doctors on Call 365.com. 786-577-9302.